How much money do you need to start trading full time? We're going to kind of take this on from a high level overview. Not everyone is going to have the same picture. A father and husband, say his 4 children, is not going to have the same answer as a 22-year-old who just graduated college, is single, and has very little living expenses and lower standards of living. It's not a one size fits all answer of how much money you need, but we'll look at it again kind of high level to think through some things, and you'll ultimately be able to get your own answer. This guy has clearly figured it out. He's got charts, he's got bands, he's got a sweet watch. So we're going to look into how this guy maybe had approached his bankroll coming into trading. All information in this video is provided for educational purposes only. It's not an offer recommendation to trade futures, stocks, options, or Forex. So like I said, we'll do pretty high level here, given this is not a black and white, one size fits all binary answer. But first things first, make sure it's money that you can lose and it's not going to ruin your life. Why? Because you're likely going to lose the initial amount of money you put into the market. High odds that you will pay tuition. People get into trading after seeing Wolf of Wall Street, maybe watching some YouTube videos with trading strategies. Maybe they took some Forex course that they got an ad for. Whatever brought you to trading, hopefully you don't think you're just going to jump in and immediately make a lot of money and have a great living. Some people can do that, just like the virtuoso children musicians who come to the world being able to do it, and some people come into trading and doing that. But on to the next bullet point, come in with realistic expectations. It's just the facts that you're going to come in, and it's not an easy game at all. It's actually probably the hardest game in the world because you're battling a lot of intellectual and heavily resourced minds in the world. A lot of people are trying to extract value out of the markets. There's trillions of dollars put into this game. Granted, it's not all day trading, or the whole market's not options markets. Those are little niches within markets, but you're battling against a lot of very smart and wealthy and highly resourced people. One thing to ask yourself is, what is your standard of living? Standard of living being maybe knowing how much you spend monthly. If you want to, some people live a simple life where they cook all their meals at homes. They live in a beautiful place and don't feel like they need to vacation. They live in a not expensive city, but then there's people who live in a very expensive city. They want to vacation once a month. They want to eat out. So you really have to look at your own financial picture and then determine kind of what you need to make monthly. Another thing that's important, if you're looking to jump in full time, and there's a slide at the end that's going to look at kind of the time progression of that. But money-wise, you need at least 6 months of living expenses saved up. And if you have a family, I'd recommend at least 1 year, maybe probably even more than that, because you're jumping into a risky career. You can show up and go home poorer than you showed up. You're not getting paid hourly here. You're getting paid to put on risk. So you got to have some amount of money to make sure you can live. If you start getting really low on your, how much you have saved, you're ultimately going to take bad trades because you feel like you have to make money, and it actually ends up being a negative thing for your trading strategies, your executions. So having the living expense savings will actually, in a weird way, make you a better trader, allow you to be more patient and not feel like you have to force so much. Another thing is, what are you going to trade? Are you going to trade stocks, futures, options? Futures are highly levered, basically highly levered versions of stock indices. There's commodities and other stuff too, but I think majority people who trade futures, at least retail traders, are trading like NQ and ES and maybe the micro versions of that. So you're going to trade that. You can trade options and stocks. The PDT rule, pattern day trader, only applies to stocks and options. And what the rule is you can't trade more than 3 times round trip. Another way, you can't have 3 day trades over a small amount of time if your account is less than $25,000. So it's pretty hard, if you're going to start with a $5,000 account in hopes of making a living off of that, especially trading stocks and options, is going to be extremely difficult unless you basically get really lucky and make a lot of money on an option or something, but that is gambling and not trading. So be aware of the PDT rule if you're looking to jump in, and even if you have, you're younger and you have $20,000, you still won't be able to hop in and just trade all day, in and out of stocks, in and out of options, 0 DTE options. So be aware of that. And futures, I think if you're jumping in to futures, you're obviously going to have access to much larger sizing with relatively smaller capital up front. I have another video on futures, actually a couple videos on futures, and how you can, depending on the broker, you can put down the margin requirements anywhere from $400 probably minimum up to, some require 16,000 to open like a ES contract. But ultimately you can use, again, that's a window. We'll just say a couple $1,000, meet somewhere in the middle, a couple $1,000 and get over $200,000 of size. Probably with current prices, we're looking close to $240,000 or $50,000 of size. And if you get some of that, you can start to make a living on that, also realizing you're also taking on that much risk. So if your account's small and all of a sudden the trade goes against you rather quickly, your account goes poof. So that's pretty important. To quantify a 6-figure salary, 100K, that's a solid amount of money. It's not an insane amount of money. In terms of trades, it's one trade per month, making 8,333, or one running trade per week with not as much of a gain, but you gotta do it every single week, and its consistency is not easy in trading. Or winning trade per day at 396. So if you look at it in terms of maybe one MNQ, a micro NASDAQ trade, you just divide this number by 2, so you're looking at 4,166.5, something around there. Just trying to do the math in my head. It really doesn't matter that much. Over 4,000 points of MNQ per month, and that's, so it doesn't have to be one winning trade. It can be whatever number of trades to make this per month. NASDAQ doesn't move that much in a month, so if you do open one contract, you're not going to make that much just holding an MNQ. It might, like after 2020, the COVID dump, and it rep back up pretty quick, but on average, no way. It just doesn't move that much. Trade per week, we're looking at 1,000 points in a trade on MNQ. It's pretty tough. You're gonna have to get multiple contracts and not have losers, not have very big losers. But these are the numbers you're gonna need to make to pull 100K, and then you know, if you're trading stocks or options, you got to realize you're going to incur short-term capital gains. Even trading futures, they're taxed at 60% long-term and 40% short-term. So if you're baking in taxes, you know, this isn't going to be your take-home. This is going to be your what you make and then take off, you know, depending on what you're trading, at least, you know, 20% probably. I put this, there's a whole nother video on the time progression and how long it takes to become a trader. So and it's basically the first year, at least, you're not even going to be playing with real money, not going to be trading real money. And then you're just going to start with a small account. And then you can size up with prop accounts, funding programs, and getting bigger accounts. So I like to put this, I just thought this would also fit within this video because you need to be aware of the time it's going to take. But back to this, you know, for 100K to make S&P returns about 8.5% per year. You know, that's buying and holding, it's not trading, but it's actually hard to outperform the S&P even trading. Say you make 10% a year to pull 100K. If you're using your own cash and not using prop accounts, I mean, that's $1 million to be 10% 100K. That's not easy. And that's why I'm a big proponent of prop funding, so you can get size where you can get, you know, closer to that, where you can be pulling 100K. But these are all just, again, it's pretty high level because it's not one size fits all. You can open an account with $4,000 and trade it. You can get options. It's going to be hard to make a living with a $4,000 account. To really make a living, you really need 6 figures, probably mid 6 figures, up to probably pushing towards $1 million if you're using just your own money. And of course, you need the 6 months minimum of living expenses. You need to calculate your standard of living, and then you can kind of calculate how many points you need to make per month to keep this. And that is also not going to be easy because you're trading and you may have down months. So account for that. But if I had to sum it up shortly, you should either have a lot of money, again, 500K plus, to trade full time. That depends on your circumstances. If you have a spouse, if you have children, how much debt you have, or use prop funding, use multiple prop funding companies, and get as much access to capital as you can that way. I think that can supercharge and really speed up the process of becoming a full-time trader. I've traded full-time for 2.5 years now, and it's not all my own money. I would not have been able to start that and make that jump without prop funding. So I think those programs are great if you know how to trade them. I have another video on risk management within prop funding programs, so check that out. Just kind of making a whole playlist of things that matter with trading. So I hope this gives you at least some good thoughts on, you know, how much do you need to start trading full time? And the answer is 100% over 25K, but even if you have 30K, 40K, so you can not PDT, it's still going to be very hard to make. You know, you're going to need to make 100%, which is extremely hard. So be safe. You know, sometimes you just got to do it on the side. Let it be a side hobby, supplemental income. That's great. But if you want to make the jump to full-time trading, you either need a lot of money, multiples of 6 figures, or prop funding programs. So trade safe, have fun trading, continue to learn, continue to keep up with these videos, and hopefully they help. Have a good one.